Everybody, what's going on? I am Jamie Dawn, your revolutionary astrologer, and soon to be, well, I've always been a metalhead, but they'll make it official end of July when I release Metalhead Astrology. I'm so excited about it. So you can find that on YouTube, and I'm already starting to record some of the shows so that we have that. And I'll go live too. I'm still figuring out how all of this works because, I'm always in for an adventure, but I still have to educate myself on some things. I'm not as savvy out of the gate as I would like to be. But one thing I will say is that you'll notice that obviously my background is blurred. Part of that is because I'm recording this from a room in Virginia where I am helping to assist with the Sail 250. It's a big event. Some of you may know about it from the news or, of course, with what's happening in the world, that the United States is celebrating their 250th birthday. It's a, I'm not, am I going to say this right? It's not a sesquicentennial, even though I like that word. But anyways, it's 250 years. And these tall ships and naval ships from all over the world, different countries, are coming to the port of Norfolk. They started in Louisiana and they're moving all the way up the East Coast to arrive in New York City on July 4th. And so Norfolk happens to be one of their stops. And so I'm here to assist one of my very, very dear friends who host the city events. And this is the big one for her before she retires. And so I get to be of service, which is something that I absolutely love. I don't think I shared this story with too many people, but years ago, the goddess Hecate appeared to me in a meditation. And if you're not familiar with her, she often is referred to as the three-headed goddess who stands at the crossroads and says, choose, what's your path? And I sat with that for a while. And the path I chose was the path of service. It's not one that pays a lot. It's not one, at least not the way that you think about with wealth and all of that sort of thing, but it certainly pays a lot with the heart. And so I'm here to be of service and to help to create an experience and be part of an event that people can come and enjoy and celebrate and hopefully feel really grounded. One of the things that my friend has told me that my main purpose for her to be here is to keep her grounded. And so I get to practice that. And of course, I get to work with some really great people. So that's where I am. And that's why you won't find me very available for the next 9 to 10 days because I will be of service doing this. And then I am going to take a couple of days off afterwards to celebrate my own birthday. And I like to do that every year. So I'm taking a little time off. I think we all need a little reset. It's not a reset. I'm not burnt out or anything like that. It's really about honoring this whole thing of being. I talk so much about not being a human doing, and we're human beings. And yet, if I'm always doing, I'm not exactly practicing what I preach, right? So that is that. And so that's why I blurred my background because I'm recording this from the hotel room where I'm staying. And yeah, it's not terribly messy in here because my little self likes order and my chaos. But anyways, so call it my Capricorn rising. It's all the image. I have to present this image to you, right? Okay, I'm keeping my sense of humor, especially because I keep mentioning Mercury's going to be retrograding at the end of the month. So, preparing us that little things are starting to show up just to kind of create enough of a moment to say, oh, am I awake? Am I paying attention? Right? But I did want to put this out there because we do have some pretty big energetics that are happening. One of them being Chiron is leaving the sign of Aries and moving into the sign of Taurus. And so it takes about 8 years for Chiron to transit the signs. So here we are again, and you can circle back around to, when was it 1984, the last time that Chiron was in Taurus. So some of us may or may not be aware of it or remember that far back. But anyways, I want to talk about that. We also have our summer solstice when the sun transits out of the sign of Gemini and into the sign of Cancer. I mentioned the Mercury retrograde, but we also have a interesting conjunction that's happening with Jupiter leaving the sign of Leo while Mercury stations retrograde in Cancer. I thought that was interesting. It's not a conjunction. I did say that. I caught myself. See, Mercury retrograde. I can start blaming it now, right? Anyways, but I was meant to say there's an interesting transit happening, a changing of the guard, if you will, for Jupiter as it moves out of the sign of Cancer. Notice, though, in the next few days, week and a half, that usually when a planet gets to the end of a sign, the in degrees, if you will, of a sign, tends to be like this culmination, almost like a full moon where energy just builds and builds and builds, right? And then there's this like, I'll call it crisis point, but it's not so much crisis as it's an energetic boost that can happen. And so this boost ends up happening. And maybe you have been like, Jupiter in Cancer is all about home and family. And if it's sitting in my seventh house, maybe there's a relationship involved. I've got none of that. Just wait, because very often, at least I've been noticing this, and when I study charts and talk to people, the pattern is that as the sign is leaving, it's almost like it leaves a gift at the door. You know, it's like, hey, thanks for housing me for the last year. That's Jupiter, right? Thanks for keeping me in this house for the last year. Before I go, here's my heartwarming gift, my parting gift to you. Because Jupiter is the planet of expansion and good luck and fortune and the opportunities, the gift giver, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if some of you report in of like, "Oh, I can't believe it. I ended up going out and leaving my home for a moment and I met somebody, or I was sprucing up my home and I got somebody to come in and help me with something. And oh my gosh, they were just so amazing. And suddenly we started talking, and next thing you know, we're dating, we're going on a date. Yeah, it could be something like that. I'm throwing that out there because I've talked to a couple of people who are single and still looking for that love. So you just never know. You never know. Or maybe there's a bigger, deeper connection that happens for those of you who are bonded. That could be a really cool thing. I'm going to talk a little bit more, but let me go back um, to Chiron in Taurus. Okay. So with Chiron in Aries, the wound that we were working on healing, transcending, being able to help others with had a lot to do with asserting ourselves, being independent, saying it's okay to have anger. It's okay to want what we want. It's okay to have all these things that are very Aries, this passion, right? I think about it as a woman, and especially as a little girl who was taught that to be the good girl, right? And I became the people pleaser to keep peace, but also because I didn't want people angry with me. So, and if I got angry, I can't tell you how many times I would hear a man say to me, you know, you're not very pretty when you're angry. I'm not here to be pretty. I'm here to be angry because you, sir, just did something stupid that pissed me the fuck off. And I'm allowed to feel what I feel, right? It's that kind of thing. So we're moving out of that. Well, maybe I have a little scratchiness going on there with that. Anyways, we're moving out of that energy or that theme and moving into for the next 7 to 8 years, Chiron and Taurus, where there could be core wounds around self worth, feeling secure, feeling stable, being in the body, maybe feelings of deservingness, right? And so we're going to work with finding the wisdom in all of that, that we're looking at not allowing our value to be contingent on what we own or what we earn. There could be a lot of fears that get stirred up around financial loss or instability with finances because, you know, you've heard me say this, you want to know what somebody values, see where they spend their money or their time or their energy, their resources, right? So we may have a fear of loss or a fear of lack around certain resources. There could be difficulty trusting what that will actually be provided for. And there may be a tendency for hoarding because we're holding it on so tightly, our routines, our people, whatever it might be, because we're looking for that security, right? I have to pause this recording for just a moment. Okay, so where was I? Let's see. Chiron in Taurus. See what happens, those of you who know what how to do this and do this also. I use Zoom to record, and if you get a phone call or something that disrupts it in between and you put pause, I think you can hear where it says recording paused, would paused recording. Anyways, so I'm just sharing with you transparently what's happening. Anyways, for those of you who are interested, that's what happened. I got a call and I had to take the call. So back to Chiron in Taurus. And what we're working with is that we get to build our self esteem, we get to build confidence. You know, one of the things about confidence that many of you may or may not know is that confidence is like trust, it's built over time and testing. I feel like they go hand in hand with each other, because if you trust in the information, you trust in yourself, you trust in your abilities, your skill sets, whatever, then the confidence is there because you know you can do it, or you know you can say it, or you know what you know, right? So trust, confidence, they go hand in hand. And so that's one of the things with Chiron and Taurus that hopefully we'll be working with, is developing deeper trust and confidence in ourselves. Because remember, we came here for a purpose, and we only know what we know. And we're going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to learn. The other thing about Chiron in Taurus is that we're learning how to develop healthy relationships. I've been talking about this forever, but Taurus is ruled by Venus, Venus being the planet of relationships, of worth, of values, right? Well, it's not just relationships romantically, it's relationships with, our view of everything. It's our relationship to our bodies, it's our relationship to money, it's our relationship to our health and self-care and all those sorts of things. So these are things that are going to we'll have circumstances that give us the training ground to be able to build the confidence to say, have I got the skills to be able to navigate when I feel insecure, when I feel scared, when I feel less than, that sort of thing. If you don't have the skills right now, and this is a good time to check in with yourself, because we're going to get the practice. If you don't have the skills right now, find a professional, find a third party, find a book, whatever it is that teaches you these skills, so that when the training ground appears, you get to start practicing. And instead of beating yourself up because you're not going to do it perfectly every time, you get to go, okay, what did I learn from it? Let me try it differently in the future, right? Um, the other thing too is that being in our bodies, and I keep talking about this as well, our bodies are the perfect tool for us to be able to come back to trust, for us to be able to witness, for us to be able to work with things. Our intuition lives in the body. So continuing to come back to the body, and that is exactly what we're going to be looking at. Now, if we are working with Chiron through the different houses, have a look and see where it is transiting. Okay. Where does Taurus show up in your chart? And then just notice over the next 7, 8 years how that gets changed, how it gets strengthened, what truly happens for you. You know, I think about this. I've got Taurus transiting my fifth house. I'm sorry. Taurus is my fifth house ruler, and I've got Chiron moving into my fifth house, and I'm launching. Fifth house is all about pleasure and creativity and children um, and taking risk. It's sort of this like dating mentality, that sort of thing. Well, with the metalhead astrology that I'm launching at the end of, I'm already starting it, but officially launching it at the end of July. I've got to fund the website. I've got to get help creating some of the brand stuff and all of that. And then I've got to start thinking too, what if this just falls flat on its face? What's that going to do for my self-esteem? If I over-identify with it, I'm going to be curled up in a fetal position somewhere in the corner, sucking my thumb. I know. It's just going to be one of those things, right? Or I may give up or whatever. Anyways, just saying that this is a creative, expressive project for me. Chiron in that fifth house in Taurus may trigger some of those fears and insecurities around my creative expression. Okay, that's how it could show up. So look in your chart with where Taurus resides or rules, which house it rules, and see what gets stirred up there for you. And just notice, like I say, this is an opportunity. I put these pins on the map for myself, but also for you, in the sense that it gives you maybe a heads up of, oh, okay, this is what Jamie was talking about, that I just got triggered, or I just am working through this. Do I have the skills? Start now. If you know that this is going to, let's say, hit that seventh house of relationships, of competition, open enemies, contracts, marriage, even, where could that create instability for you? Right? Where could that create some fears and insecurities for you? This is about the seventh house is the other house, right? What if it's that you trusted and you had all these relationships that suddenly you're like questioning, going, are they out to get me? What's happening here? Am I enough for them? So work with that before the trigger happens. Those are just some examples. The other thing is, we now have Venus in the sign of Leo. It transited out of Cancer, home loving, and being able to express itself emotionally and all of that into this beautiful, passionate fire sign of Leo, where we're looking for loyalty. We're looking for having this dramatic flair. It wants to have the best in the world. The Venus in Leo wants to really shine and be alive. And if you notice, I talk with my hands. I've got Mars in Leo, though, not Venus. But there's a lot of expression, heartfelt compliments. There's a lot of generosity, and so the big question is, what would happen if I really allowed my heart to be fully seen? What if I was actually seen here? That's kind of cool. There's this warm hearted, generous with love. There might be a lot of expressions of devotion and commitment, because, Leo is all about loyalty, right? And there's this creative and expressive piece in the relationship. So it's a great time if you're wanting to express yourself with those you love and care for, what they truly mean to you. Get creative with it. Write them a song, sing it to them if you can sing, or take them to one of their favorite places after you've blindfolded them and surprise them with it. Whatever, just throwing it out there. Be creative. That's what I'm saying. Make a collage with them, with all their faces from when they were little babies, where they're growing up. Anyways, I get carried away. Of course, there's a shadow side to every sign. So the other thing that we want to watch for when Venus is transiting through Leo is we're looking for this external validation or approval from others. And if we don't get it, then we triggers our self-worth. Hello, Chiron and Taurus, right? So there's a little bit of that dynamic that could show up for us. Maybe a struggle with being vulnerable or too proud, and maybe feeling unseen. It's amazing how much we can really struggle in our confidence level when we feel invisible, right? It's like, why do I matter? Nobody cares if I'm here. Okay, watch out. Let's not go into that victimhood. You know what? All that matters is that we have purpose, we have breath, therefore we have value. So let's express it, regardless of what anybody else says or does. Because even if you make a difference with Mother Nature, it's making a difference. Yeah. So the other thing too, I would say, I mentioned Jupiter moving into Leo as well, and it happens on the same day that Mercury stations retrograde in Cancer. So, I will talk about this, and I'm going to end up doing on Metalhead Astrology a Mercury retrograde show. And it's going to be, I'm very excited about this Metalhead Astrology. Even if you don't like metal music, I hope that, if nothing else, the intention behind it is that it's entertaining. It's not so much educational, even though I am going to equate it or work with the astrology pieces to it. But I want that side of of the astrology piece and the metalhead to be entertainment. So you're going to see the F bomb fly. You're going to see me make fun of signs. You're going to see all kinds of things, going into that. And I'm digressing, but reason I'm bringing it up is I'm going to do a Mercury retrograde show, maybe more than one, with the Metalhead Astrology, and we're going to have fun with it. But that being said, when we have the combination of Jupiter in Leo and Mercury stationing retrograde. We have the expansive energy of Jupiter, right, in this fire sign of Leo. But then Mercury is in Cancer, which is watery and reflective. And so it's like saying on one end, okay, everybody be encouraged to shine, embrace that larger vision, and yet slow down. I mean, shine, but don't shine too. Take your time shining, right? I think of it very much like the first light. If anybody has woken up early in the morning and when it's still dark, and you're waiting for the sun to come up, and you start to see that light just peak, just crest over the horizon. That first light. That's what I think of with this Jupiter in Leo and Mercury retrograde in Cancer. It's telling us, hey, shine bright. The day ahead is going to be bright and beautiful. But right now, appreciate the moment. Be in this moment. And at that first light, and a lot of indigenous cultures still embrace this, at that first light, take a breath. This is your birth. This is the moment of creation. The world is your oyster. What do you envision for your life? And then take your time as you build it. Take your time as you appreciate all those little things. So this isn't just about accomplishing something and doing and going so fast that we lose sight of those little things. We have an opportunity to pause, to slow down, to be in that space of what truly matters. We're revisiting our heart's desire. Remember, everything RE, right? With retrogrades, Mercury retrograde, revisit, rejuvenate, redo, restructure, right? Well, the last couple of weeks leading up to this retrograding moment, it's been a theme, and certain themes emerge. And when Mercury's retrograde, we get to revisit those themes and we get to do them differently. Because very often, the first time a theme shows up, we go, oh, I sucked at that. I didn't have the skill set. And so then we start learning the skill set, or we start thinking about what we did that we could do differently. Well, then the theme shows up again. As Mercury conjoins the sun, we have a halfway point. So that theme shows up maybe in a slightly different way. And we go, I learned something different this time. What do I want to do? And so we start to tweak it. And then by the third round, when Mercury stations direct and moves forward again over that same degree of the sign, usually that theme shows up for the third time. And we go, ha ha, ha ha ha. I've seen you before. I've been here before. I'm going to do it very differently. Or now I have the resources. Now I have the energy. Now I have the skills, whatever, to be able to do this a little differently and to be successful with it. So don't get discouraged on the redos. I always love recording or doing live shows or anything like that during a Mercury retrograde, because I usually have to record at least 3 or 4 times. Or I record on a Monday and it goes to shit. And so by Wednesday or Thursday, I'm recording what I should have recorded on Monday. And it's just like, screw it. I mean, if you're watching my videos long enough, you've seen during a Mercury retrograde that I start blaming it. I'm like, okay, I misspoke, or that didn't work out very well, or whatever, and it's not as polished and that sort of thing. And granted, I appreciate your patience with me, because this is my way of getting over my self-righteous image of having to present in a certain way that makes you think that I'm more professional than I actually am. Um, you know, anyways, I'm pontificating because I'm just enjoying talking to you guys. All right. So again, we go back to Jupiter in Leo, which, and this pontification, that's another way that it can show up, because we're very robust during this time with Jupiter in Leo, and we want to express ourselves, overly express ourselves. We might even get a little indulgent of how much we love the sun, how much we love the spotlight, right? So we do have to watch out for that. But there'll be this dance between expansion and contraction, expansion and contraction. And so give ourselves over to going with the flow. You're going to have moments where it may feel like a contradiction, but it's not. It's a preparation, because Jupiter and Leo wants you to step onto a bigger stage. Mercury retrograde in Cancer wants to ensure all of us we're not carrying around the emotional baggage, that old shite that we've been slugging around. It's time to release it. RE, right? Release it. Let it go. Heal the old wounds around needing recognition, about visibility. Go back to those family stories that shaped our confidence and rewrite them. Guess what? We're adults now. At least most of us who are watching this, we're adults now. Write the story that you ultimately wanted to experience as a kid. Parent yourself the way that maybe your parents didn't. Or if you had a great childhood, come back to that and strengthen it. We're not victims to our past. Our past helped to shape our present, but our future is dependent on what we do now. So strengthen that emotional foundation. Connect with those dreams that used to bring us joy. What's wrong with that? You know? So sometimes we get an opportunity to look back just for a little bit so that we gain greater clarity, greater skills, greater confidence. Move that back to the Chiron and Taurus, more confidence in the fact that we're not just taking up space. We actually have a purpose, and that the space that we do take up, it matters. It's meaningful. All right, you guys, I'm sort of done talking for now. But I hope that this helps a little bit, that it entertains you a little bit, that it gives you some information. I will be back in my office after, when am I getting back? June 29th. So for the next 2 weeks, it's going to be a very sparse hit or miss with me, but I really do want to recharge for myself, for you guys, so that I can show up even more. And just know, if you do need me, you can find me at 12listen, jamiedon.com, soon, Metalhead Astrology. And I just love you guys. So keep me posted. Let me know how you're doing. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.